Hey, it's Keisha. Welcome and welcome back. We are on our last reading in Ask and It Is Given. So here we are. It is process 22, moving up the emotional scale. So let us begin by first just centering ourselves. We'll close our eyes, take a deep breath in, audible sigh, letting it out. Another deep breath in and out. Another deep breath in and out. Notice how in just those 3 breaths you can already feel yourself recalibrating. Begin to turn your gaze inward, feeling yourself present in your body at this time, at this moment in space. Pick up any stress, any concerns, any cares or worries. Pick them up from your feet all the way to the top of the head on the in-breath and release it on the out-breath. Again. Lovingly and gently recall all of your power back to yourself. And know that as it returns, it comes back to you clean. Again, any cares or concerns, any worries or dramas that you feel attached to, just release those into the ethers, letting them go back to source. If you feel like there's something or someone attached to you that shouldn't be, just release that cord and ask it to go back to source. We should now feel whole and free. And now see a column of white light coming down over you. Breathe in that light. Welcome its familiarity. Welcome the comfort and peace it provides. Notice how it instantly uplifts the mind and brings buoyancy to the heart. Breathe in this good feeling. And now to feel even better, we're going to reach higher by lifting ourselves up that column of light, lifting up higher and higher out of earthly concerns and physical cares. Lifting up into that space of pure comfort where we are surrounded by universe's love, its wisdom, and its power. Feel the readiness of divine substance pressing against you, the potentiality of all forms. Notice how peaceful it is and how peaceful you are. And in this calm, in this knowing, in this oneness, find your place in the grove. With your heart open and your mind open, gently open your eyes. And we'll begin. Process 22, moving up the emotional scale. We'll use this when we feel bad or having a difficult time and feeling better. When something has happened to you or someone else and it's knocked you back. When it's been necessary for you to deal with the crisis or other chaos. When you've been diagnosed with a frightening illness or some other serious event. When someone close to you is experiencing trauma or going through a crisis. This particular process will be of benefit to you when your emotional set point is somewhere between 17, which is anger, and 22, fear, grief, depression, despair, powerlessness. Okay. So the contrast of your life experience has helped you identify your preferences and desires. And whether you speak them out aloud or not, Source has heard each of your preferences and desires, no matter how large or small they may seem, and has answered them. And the manager, called the law of attraction, has lined up circumstances, events, other people, and all manner of things to assist in the fulfillment of those desires. In other words, you have asked and it is given, but now you must let it in. So the process of moving up the emotional scale will assist no matter where you stand, no matter what you're creating, and no matter how you're feeling, to your lower state of resistance, and therefore it will improve your state of allowing, and every feeling of relief will be an indication of your release of that resistance. So when you don't have enough money and you want more, we want you to understand that the distance you'll be traveling is not the distance between not having enough money to having enough money, but instead the distance between the feeling of insecurity to a feeling of security, right? So once you practice the thought that makes you consistently feel more secure, then the money will follow. That's how we get our active mind into a space of allowing that we can receive through the heart. When you're sick and want to be well, the distance that you're traveling is not from sickness to wellness, but from fear to confidence. Once you practice the thoughts and feeling more confident, then physical improvement would naturally occur. There is nothing that you or anyone else has ever wanted that exists for any other reason than you think it would make you feel better to achieve it. If you will make the improved feeling or emotion be your real destination, then anything and everything that you want will quickly follow because you will be in that space of allowing. So finding the perfect word to describe the way you feel is not essential to the process, but feeling the emotion certainly is. It's just helpful to name it, because if you're able to put a name to it, or as close as you can approximate, then that'll give you a sense of where you might be on the scale. And then from there you can assess, you can begin to provide solutions or come up with better feeling thoughts that will incrementally help you move up the scale. And you would notice that progress because you will have named it something that's lower. You will have begun to change your thoughts, and that will lift you higher, and you'll recognize that change in that change, which is progress. So the game is strictly about discovering thoughts that give you the feelings of relief. Now, the 22-point emotional scale is always listed in the description box. And as I mentioned at the beginning of the video, this process is good when you're between 17, which is anger, and 22. So 17, anger, 18, revenge, 19, hatred or rage, 20, jealousy, 21, insecurity, guilt or unworthiness, 22, fear, grief, depression, despair, powerlessness. So if you're feeling any of those emotions that you can kind of pinpoint, then for every thought that you can think that dispels the initial negative thought would begin to move you up that scale. Okay. The improved feeling, again, means that you've released resistance And as you're releasing resistance, that means you're in a greater state of allowing. And if you can be grateful for that, even if it's a small increment of change, then that draws to it another positive thought, and you begin to move up the scale in that way. When improved emotions were discovered naturally and unconsciously, each improvement now gives you access to something even more improved, right? So an example, I did everything I could think of to help the situation, but it still turned out badly. Okay. So that's going to be somewhere, maybe disappointment or grief, depending on what the situation is. But from there, you can think, well, I recognize that I did the best I could. Okay. So that gentle acknowledgement is already a step up from grief. It's now moved to understanding, right? And then if the next statement is, well, knowing what I know now, if I were to meet with this situation again, I would do it differently. Or I might do it the same, depending on the situation, right? Well, that has now moved us away from grief and disappointment, from understanding to contentment, because I'm content now with my actions, right? Or at least I have a plan if I'm in that situation again. So that's contentment. We've already moved up the scale. The next thought could then be, what a tremendous opportunity for my awareness and for me to learn and grow. I'm so grateful for that experience. Now we moved into gratitude, right? Which is, a form of love and acceptance, a higher vibration still. So just by reaching for those better feeling thoughts, because you can't really move too far ahead of where you are. So it makes sense to acknowledge where you are by putting the best name you can to it, and then giving yourself some grace, which would be a non-resistant act, right? And seeing what good is there in it. And as you can claim that piece of good, you're now moving up the scale. So now, once what was depressing, hurtful, disappointing, and maybe grief-stricken, you've now moved towards gratitude by just, 3, 4, 5 statements reframing how you're feeling or reassessing the situation. And if you can do that with each of these things, disappointments, that would be how you move up the scale. So again, it's not so important that you have the exact name of the feeling. What's important is that you feel the feeling and then you reach for an even better one, using the tools and the words you have at your disposal, using, if in some cases, not just this process, but all of the others, the 21 others that we've been practicing throughout the reading of this book. It is always the feeling place that is your indication of your state of allowing. So if you're in those negative emotions, so I think in the list of 22, so everything below, 10? I guess boredom and pessimism. So so anything below 8, which would be considered negative, because 9 is pessimism, 10 is frustration. So if 8 is boredom, that's kind of neutral. But then pessimism, so anything 9 or below, if you can just recognize where you are and define it to the best of your ability, and then reach for the next better feeling thought, and hold that thought for at least 17 seconds, then you're giving yourself time to receive other thoughts that are also in that vein. And if you can recognize that incremental increase in movement up the scale, then there's reason to be grateful, right? And then that helps you move to the next higher stage. And that is how we move from fear, grief, disappointment to love, joy, acknowledgement. So moving from 22 to 1. And so that's what this process is. And indeed, that's what all of the 21 other processes that we've been covering seek to help you achieve as well. So I hope this and all of the other lessons have been helpful, and that you've got some new tools in your toolbox to work with. I encourage you to continue to work with it, right? Muscles atrophy from disuse. So engage with them from time to time. Keep that $100 bill in your wallet, right? Keep writing the placement process, where you write out what it is that you can do and ask the universe to handle the rest, right? You maintain your book of positive aspects, where you pull something in mind and write out all the things that are positive about it. Those are all things that can help turn your attention from the negative contrast of what you're experiencing back to something more engaging and positive that in effect will allow for a higher vibration to be about you, and thus allow you the space to receive the blessing and the positive manifestation that you are so desperately seeking, right? So I hope that's helpful. This now concludes Ask and It Is Given. I am glad to have finally read through the book and actually done the processes and have a better understanding of where some of these things have come from that I've actually been practicing the last 15 years, but not really realizing that they were actually from this book. And as far as what's next, well, we'll just have to wait and see. I have a list of videos that I've been planning for some time, so I'll probably get into more of those. At the moment, I'm not thinking that I want to read another book. Unless there's one that you all have thought of that you'd be interested in going through together. Nothing really is on my list. I thought about the Kabbalion, I thought about the Emerald Tablet. But those are just 10 lessons, so I think we may find some other way to explore those. But yeah, so if there's something you want to read together or want my thoughts on, or, invitation to Spirit to speak on, leave that in the comments. Any other things you'd like us to explore outside of books or energy techniques, I think that's something I want to move more into, is giving you actual physical techniques that you can do to increase your presence, increase your vibration, clear your energy. That's got to be important as well. And we'll just keep going from there. So, all right, my loves, I will see you in the next set of videos. I'm not sure exactly when they're going to be. This is going up probably right around the weekend of Thanksgiving, so maybe I will enjoy the month of holidays and then come back with a fresh series of videos at the beginning of the year. That seems to make sense, at least on paper and by a schedule. But, who knows what Spirit may tell me to do in the meantime. But whatever that is, we'll certainly follow it. And I hope you're along for the journey. So until then, my loves, I will see you soon and love you in the meantime. Bye.